Kyrie Irving is having a redemption arc during these playoffs. The popular phrase that states what a difference a year can make definitely applies to Kyrie Irving because it was only a year ago that Kyrie was basically the Kanye West of the NBA, just damaged goods from all the crazy things he had said, especially statements while he was in Brooklyn that got him in trouble, which were deemed anti Semitic. I won't get into details about what he said or whether I agreed or disagreed with it, but it was deemed controversial back then. And it lowered his value to a large degree because Kyrie, in my eyes, when he's healthy, when he's on top of his game, he's a top three guard in this league. I can't think of many guards that are better than him when he's at the top of his game. Stephen Curry, that's like the only one really right now on the top of my mind that I think of. But he's just that great. But due to his political controversy, his value was completely lowered. People were hating on him. He was despised. Brooklyn was just desperate to get rid of him that they just sent him to Dallas. I'm not sure. I don't think they got equal value for him or even close. They just wanted him to be gone, kind of like a hoe. They just threw him in the garbage and they were just happy to get rid of him. I think all that controversy made people forget about how great of a player Kyrie is, his talent. I think the biggest thing about Kyrie throughout his career is not really his skills as a player that you doubt, but you doubt mentally if he's going to be there consistently on a night-to-night basis. I think that's the biggest thing that's held Kyrie back throughout his career, just his ability to be mentally stable, to be content, to be happy with his situation. I remember one time reading an interesting article about Kyrie Irving several years ago about how when he was in high school, he always had to switch schools because he needed something new. He needed a change. He needed a new challenge. That to me, it made me think about that Kyrie probably wasn't used to having stability in his life. Obviously, with what happened with his mom passing away, granted his dad took care of him and was a good financial provider from what I read, but I think that probably messed him up in the sense of seeking stability. So it's kind of like why he needed instability because that's all he ever knew mentally. I think that was kind of like the thing that caused him problems throughout, not just his life, but his career, in the sense that every place he had something good going, he wanted to change it immediately and just flip the switch. And I think that caused him to be off kilter. Also, I think that's the reason why his beliefs are so controversial, because he's always looking for something new and he needs that instability that something new would bring to him, as weird as that sounds. So I think that's why he's always been off the wall. Granted, it wasn't deemed as offensive until last year with what he said about just the statements that were considered anti-Semitic that really just ended it for him. But I think he garnered a reputation after those statements of a guy that you couldn't trust when it came to relying on night to night on a nightly basis, of him just being mentally stable, what you want from your superstar franchise player, that he wasn't trustworthy of it. But I think because of all that stuff, it made people forget just of his greatness, just the shot he had in the 2016 finals. That was very clutch for the Cavs to win. Just that was an amazing moment. You just go back to Cleveland, just how he was a huge part of that team, just them being a title team. And once he left, they had no chance of winning it all. Granted, even with him, it was an uphill battle with the Warriors, but still, just him leaving Cleveland, I think that's really when he started to have these career struggles and things started to go off the wall for him, in the sense that just his stability kind of collapsed. I never actually blamed him for wanting to leave Cleveland. I don't think LeBron James is a fun player to play with, that he's a guy who's going to get all the spotlight, who's going to suck up all the oxygen in the room. He's definitely ball dominant, while Kyrie wants to have the ball in his hands. Grant, Kyrie can play off the ball, which makes him also another asset to his game that makes him a great player. But I could understand him not wanting to be with LeBron. All that negative attention LeBron wins, despite LeBron's ability to win. That guy is a super diva. It's not really fun dealing with that if you have any sense of awareness. So I never knocked him for leaving Cleveland. But when he got to Boston, I felt that was a good situation. He was with a young Tatum, a young Jaylen Brown, a team that was on the rise, and they've proven for years that they are elite team. To me, that was a great situation, and I think that's really the place where it started to show he had mental health problems. Just what went down there, he forced his way out there. I think he signed with the Nets as a free agent, and then in in Brooklyn, he was unstable. They had that 1 year where you thought they were going to win it all in 2021. He was playing great in the playoffs, and then I believe he broke his hand or some sort of injury happened during the Bucks series that took him out of that series. If that injury didn't happen, I believe the Nets would have gone all the way to the finals and they would have won it all, but it wasn't meant to be. And then after that, just things fell apart. The next season, they got to the playoffs, but they weren't able to get out of round one against the Celtics. Kyrie was disruptive during that year. It was to the point where Harden forced the trade out of there simply because he didn't want to play with Kyrie anymore. So he destroyed the chemistry of that team within a year when it just the year before they were title contenders with a healthy Durant, Harden, and Kyrie. So he was starting to show that he was a malcontent over there and just a person you couldn't build a stable championship team around or rely on him being a major part of the core. Then when he got to Dallas last year, he was just coming off of those controversial statements. And to be fair, I don't blame him for the reason why Dallas didn't make the playoffs last year. Just there wasn't enough time for him and Luka to gel. He got traded right during All-Star break. He only played 30 games. I never hold that against him, that failure. So heading into this season, he was like an afterthought. No one paid any attention to him this year though, and the Mavericks were struggling up until they made that trade to get Gafford and PJ Washington, which completely transformed their team and catapulted them now to the finals. So he was a forgotten story, but now he's back in the spotlight. He's having his best playoffs run since that 2016 title run he had with the Cavs. I think only that run I would say he was slightly better, but this has been his best run in 8 years. It's kind of incredible to think about it. Just now he's like 32, so he's not really old, but it just shows you just how long it can be until you can win again in this league and how winning is not easy. But I think it also shows just how America loves a redemption story, because America culture wants to believe that America is the best place in the world, in the sense that you can always come back in this country. That's the belief, that you can fail miserably, but then you can bounce back again and you'll have another chance at success. And that success is infinite as long as you try hard, work hard, that you can always come back. And I think that's why people love a comeback story. After a guy has got his ass whooped, even if he's hateable, people still love the story that this guy was down on his luck and he came back. And I feel Kyrie's now benefiting from that. But I think it's easy to forget that this guy has been a great player for the last several years. But due to his mental instability, he's caused his downfall for a very long time. And now it seems like he's got it together for now. I'm only going to say for now because I'm not fully convinced that long term that he's a man that can be really at peace with himself. Maybe I hope he proves me wrong, because I definitely love what he's doing in Dallas with him and Luka. They're very exciting to watch. I hope he can just finally be content with who he is and accept Dallas is the place to end his career in, and he could provide us some exciting basketball. But I'm skeptical if this guy can keep it together. Granted, it still makes for a great story if he wins this year in the finals. He wins it all. It's a great, just American story of a comeback from embarrassing failure just over a year ago. Just it's one of those things where people would say only in America this can happen. So that's really my take on it. It'll be interesting to see if they win it all. If they win it all, this is the perfect story for Kyrie, even more so than Luka, because Luka is like that blue chip prospect we expect to be great, that it's expected that he wins the title and he goes on at least one of these magical runs in his career. But Kyrie, to bounce back from what he did, that wasn't expected by most people. I think most people would be lying if they expected him to bounce back and to be a huge contributor on a title team. That's pretty much all I have to say about this.